Okay, students, we start learning today about flora and fauna in Indonesia. Student, know flora and fauna in Indonesia, including materials what? Apakah ada yang tahu? Huh? That's right, Sehun. Yes. Betul. Flora and fauna in Indonesia. Flora and fauna years in Indonesia includes diversity of heart. Wow, smart. Okay, I will explain about biodiversity in Indonesia. Okay, students, we will discuss three important points about the diversity of living things, flora and fauna in Indonesia. That is, 1. The concept of diversity of living things. 2. Explain of the diversity of living things in Indonesia. Number 3. Classifications of the diversity of living things. Okay, number 1A, the concepts of diversity of living things. 1. Understanding the diversity of living things. The diversity of living things is also known as biodiversity or biodiversity. The terms biodiversity or biodiversity denote the amount of variance that exists in living things in a given environment. Diversity is the different characteristic of organism with a species or population. With the diversity property, there will be variance or diversity of organisms with a species. While living things are organisms that have the characteristics of life. So, that diversity of living things is the overall variance in the form, approach, number, and characteristics that can be found in living things. Every living thing has different characteristics and place to live. 2. Number 2. Characteristic of living things. Breathing. All living things carry out the process of breathing. Breathing is the process of taking in air, O2, from the outside and expelling air, CO2, carbon dioxide, from the body. The process of respiration in living things varies depending on the type and place of life. Number P. Moving, namely the displacements or change of position seen from the indifferent point. She requires food. Food is needed by living things to produce energy, replenish damaged cells, growth, and metabolic process. Point D. Irritability. One of the characteristics of living things is a response to stimuli. The ability of living things to respond to stimuli is called irritability. Stimulations can be caused by external factor. Number point A. Growing and developing. Growing is a increase in body size or volume that affects height and weight, while developing is a change into adulthood. Point F. Reproductions. The ability of living things to produce over things. This breeding is to preserve the species. Point G. Adaptation, namely the adaptations of living things to their environments. Point H. Metabolism is the chemical process that occurs in living things. Number A. Extraction. Waste substance from the reproductive process must be removed. Otherwise, it will cause toxins in the body. The waste material results can be in the form of liquid, gas, or solid. The means of extracting waste in animals or humans are the lungs excrete CO2 or carbon dioxide. The skin extracts sweat, and the kidneys extracts urine. Number 3. Diversity of living things based on the living of diversity. A. Species diversity. Species diversity so all the variants found in species diversity so all the variants found in living things between species. Interspecies in one species clan. Species diversity is easier to observe than gen diversity. This is because the difference between species of living things in one genus are more strict than the difference between individuals within one species. For explains potatoes, tomatoes, and eggplants. All three belong to the same genus, Slaunus. However, all there have different special characteristics in the population known as species. Species is the process of forming a new species. When species occurs, the number of species in one genus increases so that species diversity increases. However, the diversity of gens with the original species is reduced. Number B, gen diversity. Egg population has characteristic genetic traits individual of things can have the same basis framework of genetic components, the same chromosome, but have different hereditary components. For explains the sweet and sour taste of yellow mango. Gen diversity determines the diversity of individual species, even though the species are the same but have diversity gens well compared to other individuals in the group. Then, gen diversity is the diversity of individuals in one type of living things. Gen diversity results in variance between individuals of the same species. Gen diversity in humans can be seen in difference in things including hair color, blue, black, and brown, body size, skin color, black, white, brown, yellow, and hair shape, streak, curly, and curly. The diversity of traits is caused by the influence of trait characters called gens. Gens are the smallest tubules or basic units that make up habits. In these strongs, the gens that trains from parents are passed onto their offspring. Difference in gens variance in each living things result in the nature of the genotype and phenotype of each living being to be different. Gen diversity can occur as a result of marriage between living things of the same species. Once species gen diversity can also occur artificially through crossbreeding. Natural and artificial gen diversity can be influenced by environmental factors. Number C. Point C. Ecosystem diversity. An ecosystem is an environmental unit that involves biotic factors, living things, and abiotic factors, materials, air, water, soil, etc. that interact with each other. Indonesia has a variety of living things, so the ecosystem that are formed are also diverse. Ecosystem is an ecological system formed by the inseparable reciprocal relationship between living things and their environments. The reciprocal relationship creates a harmonious life in the ecosystem. Diversity at the ecosystem level owes to difference in geographical location. That diversity in geographical location result in difference in climates. In different climates, there must be difference in temperature, rainfall, intensity of sunlight, and duration of irradiation. This situation will fetch the type of plants, flora, and animals, fauna that living in an area. Indonesia has approximately 47 diversity natural ecosystem ranging from perennial snow ecosystem to a wide variety of lower forests and grassland ecosystem. There are also ecosystem of lakes, swamps, coral reefs, and mangrove. Point 4. Cause of diversity of living things. The factor that cause the diversity of living things are a. Mutation are change events caused by internal factors such as genetics, material, or environmental factor such as radiation and temperature. B. Recommendation is a process or event that results in the formation of a new combination of genes on a chromosome. New individuals from sexual reproductions will have offspring from both parents. Okay, students. So far, is there anything you want to ask? No? Okay, let's continue the second material. Diversity of living things in Indonesia. Indonesia has a very high biodiversity, so it is called a mega diversity country. 1.1 Flora diversity. The biodiversity of flora owned by Indonesia respects 11% of all flora species on Earth. Flora in Indonesia is included in the Malaysia flora area. The distributions of plant species in Indonesia is not evenly distributed. Tropical rain falls in Kalimantan in an area that has the highest plant diversity. Sumatra and Papua are also very rich in plant species, meanwhile fresh in Java, Sulawesi, Maluku, and the Sunda Islands have lower plants diversity. Forests in the Malaysian area have approximately 248,000 species of hickory plants. Wow! This forest is dominant by stars from the Dipteroprince family, which are plants that can grow tall and have large trunks from a forest canopy. Plants belonging to the Dipterans family includes the following: Caroning, Dipterocops sp. Marenti, Sohera sp. Remian, Gonistillus, Bencausch, Lim tree, Driobalanops aromatica. Most forests in Indonesia are tropical rainforests. Beyond this, forest is characterized by a dense canopy of trees and many lianes. Plants grow climbing. The plants that dominate this forest include the following: durian, durio, zebeteus, mango, Mangiferia indica, breadfruit, Artocarpus communis, Rathancamus sp. These four types of plants are widely distributed in Sumatra, Java, Kalimantan, and Sulawesi. In Indonesia, there are also endemic plants. Endemic plants are plants that only exist in certain area. An eggplants of a plants endemic to Indonesia is Rafflesia arnoldi. Rafflesia arnoldi is an endemic plant in West Sumatra, Bengkulu, and Aceh. Flora is divided into their branches, which are as follows. Point E. Point E, endemic flora, which includes Rafflesia arnoldi, Marenti, and Matwa, Pometia pinnata. Point B, Indonesian native flora, for example, jasmine flowers. Rare flora, which includes Santalum album, Belum sentence pelquim, Wasur tivolum, Spodilix cake, Bayur, Pterosporium sp. and resin tres. Point 2. Fauna diversity. Wow. Indonesia has an abundant diversity of fauna. Indonesia has 12% of the world's mammal species. 16% of the world's reptiles and amphibians, and 12 of the world's bird species. However, the distributions of fauna in Indonesia is not evenly distributed. At first, Indonesia was divided into two zoogeography, which was bounded by village line. Based on his observations in 1859, village determines two main areas of fauna distributions by drawing a boundary line edge of Kalimantan and Bali, separating the fauna of western and eastern Indonesia. Thus, the village line separates the oriental regions, Sumatra, Java, Bali, and Kalimantan, from the Australian regions, which includes Papua and the surrounding islands. After village defeats the distribution line of flora and fauna in Indonesia. A zoologist named Weber also conducts research on the distribution of animals in Indonesia. According to Weber, animals in Sulawesi cannot be fully grouped as Australian fauna. Some of these animals have characteristics such as oriental fauna. Weber made an imaginary line east of Sulawesi extending north to the Aru Islands, Nusa Tenggara. Point 3. Factor the cause the declines in the diversity of living things. Point A. Natural factor, namely natural desert floods, inundations, volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, or tsunamis. This event can make people aware that they have a responsibility to maintain the balance and preservation of the diversity of living things. B. Human factor. Clearings of natural forests, factories, housing, and so on irresponsible as of pesticides, insects, and the like. C. Indiscriminate disposal of industrial waste. D. Irreversible hunting of animals in the course of time. There are groups of living things that have increased in diversity. Some are contexts, some are reduced in diversity. Number 4. Experts to present the diversity of living things. A. In situ. breeding. Breeding in their natural habitat. For example, Ujung Kulon National Park and Baluran National Park. In addition, ex situ breedings can also be carried out. Birding outside their natural habitat. For example, cap capturing tiger in zoos. B. Utilization of the diversity of living things in a sustainable manner by applying the following principles. The principles of tolerance, meaning that diversity has a characteristic tolerance limit so that it cannot be violated in autumn, meaning that all natural resources should not be utilized to the autumn. Therefore, it is utilization must be below the autumn limit. A. The controlling factor, meaning that the environmental balance must always be maintained, control or controls the participle of inversibility. The cording factor, meaning that the environmental balance must always be maintained, controlled, and controlled. F. The participants of inversibility, the preservations of the greenlands must always be maintained, because if the greenlands is lost or extinct, the organism in it will also become extinct. Examples of observation areas in Indonesia are Gunung Leuser National Park, North Sumatra and Aceh, Gunung Mons Natural Reserve, NTT, Cikepuh, Wilayah Sankuriti, Sukabumi. Number 5. Values and benefits of diversity of living things. A. Value of diversity of living things. 1. Economics value. Biodiversity can be assured as a source of income, can bearing in forgive exchange. For example, for industrial raw materials, species and plantation. Point 2. Biological value. Biological has a biological value or life support for living things, including humans. Plants produce oxygen gas O2, which is needed by living things for respirations, and products organic substances such as seeds, fruits, and tubers as food for other living things. Point 3. Ecological value. Biodiversity is a very important component of ecosystems. For explains tropical rainforests. Tropical rainforests have important ecological or environmental values for the earth. Point 4. Social value. Biodiversity can be defined into a means of reference and tourism. Unexplained of the pledge for restrictions and tourism that is also a biodiversity constructions area is the Taman Hutan Raya Insinyur Haji Juanda in Bandung. Point B. Benefits of diversity of living things. Source of number 1. Source of life. This includes the needs for clothing, food, housing to medians. Number 2. Economic ratios. The industrial sector is one of the supporting sectors for the development of the country economy. Of course, the industrial sector will not be able to run with raw materials. For example, animals that can be produce milk, eggs, or meat. The food and beverage industry will not be able to run. Point 3. Help maintain the balance of the ecosystem. The diversity of living things serve to essence in balance the ecosystem. Number 4. Help, help prevent land damage. The many types of plants that grow on a land will protect the lands from erosions, soil erosions caused by rainwater. Point 5. Advantage in such and transportations. The diversity of living things can be asked for research. Some animals, such as horses, camels, and buffaloes, are still used for energy, for information, for transportation. Okay, students. So far, anyone to ask? Students? No? Okay, that's right. It is continue with the next material, yes. Jadi kalau nggak ada yang ditanyakan, lanjut ke materi ketiga. Oke, yaitu about classifications of the diversity of living things. Classification of the diversity of living things. Scientists study the abundant diversity of living things by going grouping classification, living into characterizations groups. 1. Variance in the diversity is the branch of a particular trait that cause one organism to diversity from other organisms of the same type. Variations is the result of adaptations of living things to their environments. The following are listed some of the symptoms of adaptation. Point A. Homologous. Two organs, body organs, are said to be homologous if they have the same origins embryologically. For example, the locations, extremities of whales and horses are homologous. Homology is as a measure of the kinship of living things. B. Analogously to organs are said if they perform perform the same function. For example, fish gills and lizard lungs have the same function, namely as a means of breathing. These two organs are said to be analogous. There is an evolutionary rule which says the, that the sexual similarity of living things that are not diverse from a common ancestors have the same function. Homopolusia, two organs are said to be homoplastic if they have the same shape even though train or rings is different, not homologous. Homoplastic templates are the results of adaptation to their environments. For example, the hind legs of grasshopper and the hind legs of horse. The transportations to or more organisms are said to show symptoms of transportation transformations if they are homologous but have differences from and foundations. For example, the whales for swimming and paddles, the shepherd breeds white for failings and fan shapes, and human heads for grasping and stick shaped. Point A. Difference two or more living things are said to be conference in the are difference in type, but their structure or body shape is very similar. This structural similarity is the result of adaptation to their environments. For example, observe and compare all marine animals which living together in an ocean. Number point F. Divergence symbolic. Number F. Point F. Divergence symptoms that show varying structures even though they both come from one ancestor, one source. This too is the result of adaptation to the environments, Notice the structural difference between beach whale dolphins, corals, and cows. Body shape structures is very variance difference although the all includes mammals. Point key phylogeny. The history of the development of a phylum or section of living things describe the history of the lineage or genealogy of all living things that are currently excellent. For example, structural variants in the phylogeny of horse. Point H. Ontogeny. The development history of an individual, for example, structural variants in human ontogeny. Number 2. Kinds of classifications of living things. Classification system, affirms or artificial test system is arranged using characteristics or their that are in according with human will or other characteristics. For example, the classifications of plants based on their living habitat or their habitat in the form of trees, short living stock, and liens. B. Natural classification system. The system requires the formation of natural econs group. This means that the members makes up a particular taxon's unit occur naturally. The classification of natural system uses the basis of natural morphological similarities and difference. An example of natural system classification is as follows. Point 1. Based on the way of movement, land animals, winged animals, and flying animals. Number 2. Based on their body covering, sexually animals, hairs animals, hairy animals, cell animals. As for plants, there are seed plants, white one species, and sand plants with 2 species. Point C. Class Phylogenic system classification. This system emerged after evaluation was discovered by biologists. This classification is based on the close between one taxon and another, in addition to reflect the similar and difference in their morphology, anatomy, and physiology. This system also explains that all living things have the same molecular and biochemical properties, but differs in from structure and foundations in each living things. So basically, this classifications is based on the phenotypic equations, which refers to the clarifications of external from psychologically observable behavior and heredity. The system of grouping living things is based on a hierarchical order or living of classification of living things. The order of classification from Higgs to lowest is kingdom, phylum, class, nations, family, tribe, class, genus, surname, species, type. Number 3. Purpose of classification of living things. Describe the classifications of living things to distinguish acceptable so that it is easily recognized. B. Grouping living things based on the classification they have. C. Know the relationship between living things. D. Give the name of an unknown living structure. A. Makes it easy to identify, compare, and study living things. Number 4. Benefit of classification of living things. A. Classifications makes it easy to study very diverse living things. B. To see the relationship between living things with one another. Oke, students, sampai sini apakah ada yang ditanyakan? So far anyone what to ask? Sehun? Chanyeol? No? Okay. Butterfly.